With all this nonsense about an Instagram unfollow by QB1, I just can't believe this is passed off as actual news. It doesn't even move the needle for me. But let's spend our time talking about what we actually know and also cover a player who's exactly what we need with our number 9 pick coming up in the draft. We hyper focus on the one, right? While not even looking at what's possible outside of that. But real quick, this Instagram unfollow, it means absolutely nothing. He still has the Chicago Bears under his picture, tons of pics in a Bears uniform. I mean, could this be a misinformation campaign with polls? Is this a conspiracy theory we're going to pass off as news? For those of you that are older, should I consult Miss Cleo for the rest of this story? I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous. Let's look at the real stuff. Typical players who are upset or know something that we don't, they scrub their Instagrams clean of the organization in question. Sports writers, internet in general, they have lost their minds over this. And we need to wait until the combine starts. I think people are going crazy. We have this normally active rumor mill just turning into a monster. We need to relax. No, this is nothing. And I'm going to get with what we know for sure regarding Fields as well if I have a few minutes. But once again, let's spend our time talking about what we actually know and also cover a player who's exactly what we need with our number 9 pick coming into the draft. We're hyper focused on the one once again. We don't even look at what's possible outside of this. So I want to share what I believe to be the perfect scenario with our top 2 picks. Excuse me. Let's look at what's available at the 9 spot in this upcoming draft. And I'm not sure I need to do a full mock. And this is not fully dependent on whether we trade the pick regarding what players will be gone at that point. But I just like what's being done here in a mock draft by clutchpoints.com. They do good work. Their mock drafts have been fantastic. You can see by the picture where I'm going here. I've got Chicago trading with Washington, then Washington springing for Caleb Williams, okay? Chicago can then trade down again with New England even. They can take Drake May out of UNC, and then Chicago still gets Marvin Harrison Jr. at wide receiver. I mean, we can argue about trade scenarios, whether both will happen or if it will happen. I mean, it's just totally guessing at this point in the process. But you guys know me. As someone who loves keeping Fields, this is really the optimal situation. It gives us a bounty for the top pick. Plus, it doesn't move us out of contention for MHJ. So regardless of how you feel, it's hard to argue that the first picks of the draft will be Caleb, May, MHJ, and likely, like in this scenario, Odunze to Arizona. So that's the top 4, and let's get to brass tacks here. So now we've got the Chargers next at 5, and I guess what? No quarterback is needed, so they can go pretty much anywhere. I think with Harbaugh taking over, though, offense will likely be the first move, and Brock Bowers, he just really fits here. He's a complete tight end. Also, just coming from the college game, right? He's more than acquainted with what he brings to the table from his time at Georgia, and they haven't even had anyone of consequence with the Chargers since the days of Antonio Gates. Those are some good years. And it also helps with the injury issues with Big Mike at wide receiver and also Quentin Johnson. He's really underperformed, and he was a high draft pick last year. I also think that the Bowers pick, it might be a fit with the power run-centric offense of Greg Roman. That's such a weird hire, especially with the quarterback that they have, right? Plus, we have the assistance of our very own Mark Trestman. I'm kind of glad Harbaugh didn't come to Chicago. I do not want Mark Trestman back on my staff. Just odd coaching hires. But anyways, you get how Bowers makes sense, right? The Chargers could also go in a different direction. They could go like cornerback with Kool-Aid McKinstry at 5. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways that they could zig, but let's just, for the purposes of this, assume that they go Brock Bowers. And then we go to the Giants at 6, Malik Neighbors. That actually makes total sense. I think it's almost like a no-brainer there. So now, what we can get at 9, it kind of hinges on who goes here. And this mock draft on Clutch Points has Joe Alt going to the Titans at 7. But look at this. With our bounty earlier in the draft, this is a player I'd love to see Poles maneuver in the draft for. And the capital that we require if we trade that we acquire if we trade that number one pick, that gives us the ammo to trade up and down as we would like. If we really want Joe Alt, we can make this happen. I mean, as far as the player, he sells himself. Joe Alt, he looks to be a 10-year starter, and they're hard to get at left tackle, right? And I don't really believe, and although Braxton Jones is a nice player and a great story, he was a 5th-round draft pick that we have coached up, he just isn't it. He isn't special. He isn't someone that you look at and you're like, okay, our offensive line is complete now. I just think this would be incredible to get him, pair him with MHJ. What an incredible start to this draft. And we also have players that could change this up again, but I've got to change. I got to come up with a draft scenario here so we can have like a logical conversation. Then we have Atlanta picking next. And if things shake out this way, they're just desperate for a quarterback and could pull the trigger on Jaden Daniels here. Man, what a gift that would be for Atlanta. If he's gone, like to the Giants before this, we could be looking at like JJ McCarthy or Michael Penix here. They would both be a pretty good fit. Just rest assured, quarterback makes total sense here. And I think that's where Atlanta is going to go if they stay with this pick. There is a world, too, that the Bears could get Alt simply at their pick here at 9 or by moving around to get them. But if this doesn't happen for some reason, the consolation prize would be Fashanu, offensive tackle from Penn State. I mean, let's look at him. A team captain, a 2-year starter inside Penn State's balanced zone-based scheme, 18 career starts at left tackle. So solid. He has a prototypical tackle build as well. Very good arm length, very good athletic ability. It's exactly what our GM looks for in an offensive tackle or an offensive guard. I mean, our GM knows the offensive line, being a former offensive lineman himself, and I trust him. If he thinks this player out of Penn State is the way to go, I just want him to get one of the two. Fashanu, he's dialed in as a pass protector as well. He has a keen understanding of snap timing. Scouts, they say he has really good body positioning, really good strike timing. He also has movement skills and the length to thrive on an island. And with our quarterback that we're going to keep, hopefully, this pocket has to move around. He has to be able to have lateral movement skills and to be able to hold blocks on an island if he shifts around or if we're doing play action or if he's bootlegging out. I mean, there are so many reasons why we have to have offensive linemen that are able to move. So if you look at this player, he's just a mature, balanced, and ready-to-go player who may prove to even be better than Joe Alt. I don't think there's a miss on either one of these. I don't think there's a bad scenario. So many possible scenarios in general, but I wanted to present one that shows a possibility of what I find to be optimal. A bevy of picks and possibly a premier player as well for the number one. This must also include an additional number one for next year in these deals. That's not lost on me. Once again, we can go back and forth on what the exact compensation would be until we're out of breath, but let's agree that the compensation would be ample, especially if we do both picks, both trades. That would be crazy. So MHJ and either Joe Alt or Fashanu at left tackle. And now we're set up with a dramatically better offensive line paired with the best wide available. I don't know how it's possible that that's not a win. The best wideout available in MHJ plus Alt or Fashanu at left tackle. Man, what a draft that would be. And now we have a ton of draft capital to fill our other gaps in the 2nd and 3rd round. And also we have such a deep safety class that we can find a starter as late as the 5th round. So it's crazy. We would end up with so much draft capital. We can move up and down with impunity and just do whatever we want. So just a fantastic setup. And I appreciate you guys. You guys are very free with your opinions, which is great. We all have strong opinions on these players and what the right course of action is for the Bears. I just appreciate you watching. I appreciate you being here with us. And hey, bear down. Let's enjoy this offseason. And thank goodness the combine is about to start and we're going to be into the beginning of the league year before we know it. And we can start talking about real things and not just predictions. Appreciate you guys and bear down. Talk soon.